today.
Medicare stuff.
Some Medicare stuff, guys. Let's talk. Today we're going to talk about 3 topics. We're going to try to hit through them quickly. Number 1, handling the Medicare Supplement backlash.
Yeah.
Carrie and I started this last week. Didn't get quite through it about like how do we handle the conversation? What should we be telling our clients? She just saw a huge uptick in clients saying, what the heck am I supposed to do with these increases?
Yeah.
So what does that look like? Lead generation. That's been a huge question right now. It has been leading up to this, but like just standing out in a crowded market. How are we handling that? And then we do have our compliance officer here. Chaylin holds many talents, but understanding compliance, understanding technology is one of them. So I want to take advantage of that.
Sure.
What does compliance and tech look like? Especially going to this AEP, leading up to this, tech was so important.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of ways to do it wrong and not compliantly, right?
Of course.
Let's start with well, no, I don't want to start with that. I want to start with the Medicare Supplement fallout. So again, same slide as last week. We don't have to go over why the big rate increases. We know they're coming. 40%, 30%. We're excited to see SANS between 15 and 20%.
Yeah.
That's like exciting to see
Anything
right
under
now.
20 just seems like a gift.
It just is a gift at this point. No end in sight. If you have questions as to why, view previous Medicare Cafe episodes. Chaylin and I are also joining Integrity on May 27th at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time for a disruptions webinar. If you have questions on that, we can talk about at the end. So we don't have to get like why is this happening. But Chaylin, I know I've been receiving this question a lot. You work with our top percentage of our agents. What are we recommending agents? How we recommend having these conversations?
So it's really funny because I had this exact conversation with 2 of our agents yesterday, prepping for a panel we're doing in the near future.
Yeah.
And they have actually quite opposite approaches. And I'll tell you all the same thing I told them. You know, there's kind of the camp of folks that say we're going to reach out to our clients every year. We're going to shop your rates. We're going to take care of you, make sure you're always in the lowest cost plan. And there's folks that say, listen, I'm going to tell my clients that if you want to shop every year, I'm probably not the agent for you. Like if you've got a problem, if it becomes unbearable, for sure, reach out. But you don't choose a med sup, so you have to switch every year. That's not why you chose that product. And I told them, I said, listen, both of those approaches will work because your clients will learn what you train them to do.
So good. And it's like expectations. If you're expecting me to say, like, if you're wanting to shop every year, give them like a threshold. I think there was a conversation of the threshold. If it's up $50 per month, then we probably need to shop. If you're not comfortable with that threshold, then I might not be your agent, right? And it's just the expectations of when is it appropriate to reach out, when it's not. Versus the other one, expectation, you don't have to worry about it. I have an office staff that can handle this for us. We'll reach out to you. Pros and cons of each.
Yeah, so I think it's workload, right? So if you're reaching out every single year, no matter what, and shopping rates, like you have to have a way to make that worth your time. So you better have a really strong cross-selling game because you're going to reach out to a lot of people that don't need to make a change.
Yeah.
Even now, even with the rate increases we're seeing this year, someone's rates may go up $30 a month, and that may not be worth it for them to go through the hassle of changing, especially if you're in a non-birthday or anniversary rural state where they do have to go through underwriting no matter what, or even in an anniversary or birthday rural state, that's still work. They're going to have to come in or they're going to have to do the app. You're going to have to sit on the phone with them. Maybe that $30 a month isn't a big deal to them. So how are we making use of that time? That's either a quick touch point that doesn't take much time, but also doesn't provide much value. I know a lot of folks will say retention. That's why we do it. Send them a birthday card. Like it's more cost effective
or
for
just
you.
like a mass communication saying like you might be receiving some rate increases. Know that this is happening. If you have questions, reach out. But to proact, and plus like you also don't want to create panic where there isn't any. You don't want to, if a client's like, no, I'm used to rate increases. I know I had this. This is steeper than I was anticipating. But you don't want to call them up and create extra planning. But I really like what you're saying about like the cross-selling aspect of it. You better make it worth your time, especially if you are in an anniversary rule or a birthday rule state. If you move them, you're going to lose commissions because guarantee issue, no matter how much way you cut it, you're losing commissions. And if you keep doing that, then you don't have a business anymore to continue to help people. Now, you always want to do what's in the best interest of the client, right? I'm not saying commissions should dictate where you put a person. I don't agree with that at all. But you should be offering them the full package of protection
For sure.
to make sure that, one, what are you doing with that premium saved, dollars saved? You can reinvest that elsewhere. And two, they're getting full coverage. You're still getting paid to do your job.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Well, and I think underwriting is such a critical skill that
oh,
honestly a lot of agents lack right now. Like, when was the last time you pop in the chat? When was the last time you underwrote a med sup?
yeah.
Because in a lot of cases, people just don't do that much anymore. You know, we're up over 20 states now that have birthday or anniversary rules or some kind of expanded guaranteed issue. So underwriting is kind of out of vogue, but it's really critically important, especially if you're in a state like Illinois, a state like Utah, where they have an anniversary or birthday rule, but it only applies to open blocks and it's only a move to a different plan with the same carrier. So that's where underwriting is really critical, because you're going to have to underwrite a lot of people into an open block before they can make that move from F to G or G to N with one of those birthday or anniversary rules.
So Terry asked a really great question, and I think it's a really important to the narrative. Terry, longtime listener, I appreciate you, said that he's asking specifically, where do all these raises actually goes? The carriers only, or where, again, if all these rate increases are happening, where's the money going? Follow the money. Ultimately, Terry and everybody else wondering, we talk about this a lot. Medicare supplement companies are not pulling levers because they're greedy or they're wanting to make as much money as they can, or they just want to be evil. I know that's a huge interpretation of how we see rate increases with insurance companies. It's their loss ratios. We said some statistics a while ago on the last disruption webinar, but profit margins for Medicare supplement companies on average are in the negative 0.4%, meaning that they are losing income on average on Medicare supplements, and that's just because the loss ratios are tremendous, growing 3% year-over-year loss ratios, which is not sustainable. So that's why, again, these are covering, the premiums are covering the loss ratios, the loss made due to claims. And the thing is that the premium increases are not keeping up with the loss ratio increases. So we're seeing 40% rate increases in that state to really accommodate it. It probably should have been 60 to 70% rate increases if they really wanted to close the gap between loss ratios and premium.
Well, and we're seeing a couple different things because those rate increases are all highly regulated. Like, I can't think of a state that doesn't have an MLR requirement on med sups. Like, there are requirements for how much they can raise premiums, what they have to cover, what they have to be spending on a medical loss ratio basis. So, like, that's all baked into their rate filings. And then also they have to negotiate with the Department of Insurance in that state every year for what they actually want to make that rate increase. And, you know, in the past, a lot of departments of insurance have played hardball with them. Someone might file a 20% rate increase.
Can't do that.
And the DOI might say, nope, you're going to get 12. That's all we will approve. And they just kind of have to live with that. Well, now,
and it's like negotiation, right? Like, file high knowing that you're going to have to come down.
Yep. And then now a lot of DOIs are realizing that, you know, that has not been the best policy, because now you've got carriers pulling out of states. You've got carriers that just can't afford to stay in business in a particular state. So they're starting to loosen that up. So we're maybe even seeing a little bit of that file high mentality where you think you're going to have to negotiate.
That sounds funnier than it actually is.
Now they're not getting that negotiation.
Yeah.
So, you know, file for 30 expecting you might get 20, but now they're actually just approving the 30, and that's really what they needed in the first place.
What they needed, but now carriers are going to have to adjust, like, and it's per state too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I know the one we were talking to and talking about, Illinois is always coming back, like, saying you can do a percentage of what you filed. Well, a percentage of that will actually let you approve, and Illinois is now just saying, like, let it fly. They're not coming back with any negotiations.
Yeah.
So it's per state, but I mean, we know Illinois tends to be a state that is not going to favor the company, not going to favor the corporation. And yeah, so it is interesting. So final thoughts on the Medicare supplement. Again, 2 trains of thoughts. Call them, get ahead of it, be proactive, versus set the expectations of if your rate increase isn't high enough, don't bother with me. If you're going to want to shop every year, I'm not your agent.
Well, and, you know, we're jumping ahead to tech for half a second, but, like, if you
not play by the rules.
You are using good technology resources, there is no reason that you can't automate this by carrier.
Yeah.
If you've got a CRM that's set up with all of your clients properly tagged, properly documented. There is no reason that you can't run a report and send an email to all of your Mutual of Omaha clients or all your Cigna clients or all your United clients when rate increase season rolls around, and they can just get that notification all at once saying, hey, it's rate increase season. If you have a question, feel free to reach out. But it's not concerning to me right now unless it's concerning to you. Because here's the deal. At the end of the day, we sell med sups because the worst thing that can happen to someone on a med sup is that the rate goes up.
Yeah.
That's literally the worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to worry about their main carrier going out of the network or their main provider going out of the network. They don't have to worry about massive swings in max out of pockets or basic benefits. The worst possible case scenario is the rate goes up. And that's the kind of security a MedSup client is buying.
Carrie talked about that last week. That premium is not the reason that they buy it. It's because it's all the security. And I think it actually leads William, my best friend William, asked a really great question that kind of leads into that, saying some carriers have made huge improvements, he said big, I'll say huge, to their PPO plans, Medicare Advantage speaking. Do you see these as a good alternative to Medicare Supplements people who are concerned with the rate hikes? I will give my 2 cents, but Chalon, I think I'd love to hear from you.
Sure.
2 things. Number one, again, remembering why people buy Medicare Supplements. It is for the risk. These are very risk aversion people. PPOs do not necessarily relieve that risk. You still have to deal with networks, obviously to a lesser degree, but you still have networks that you have to deal with. You still have a third party, aka a private company, managing your healthcare, which comes with its, challenges. So I don't think a PPO, in the eyes of a consumer, if you're selling a Medicare supplement appropriately, a PPO does not alleviate that. Just based on how the fundamental differences of why you buy a med sup, you wouldn't want a PPO in that case. The second thing I'll say is that I think you can expect to see significant decreases in 2026 to PPO benefits.
Sure,
So, Chalon, do you mind taking that on?
No, I absolutely agree. I think PPOs are not going anywhere as a product, but yeah, absolutely expect to see some rollback on those harder to manage benefits, those harder to manage plans. We're anticipating, another kind of tough year for carriers in the MA space. Now, that said, William, I would absolutely agree and take a slightly contrarian opinion. I think MA is exactly designed to be an alternative to MedSup, and for some folks, it does work really well. Now, we know for a fact there's around 2% of folks that go from MedSup to MA every year. So that's around 380,000 people that go from MedSup to MA every year. And what we know is only around 2 to 4% of those people actually use trial right to go back into a MedSup. So of the 380,000 people last year that likely went from a MedSup to an MA, only maybe a couple thousand actually went back to a MedSup. So people are largely happy with that choice. But it still has to make sense for that individual client, make sense for their health, their wealth. That whole package of protection is really important to put together.
I think that's a really excellent point of view, and the numbers to back up. Those who move to Medicare or Medicare Advantage plan don't necessarily move back, not at the numbers that I think a lot of people expected. So that's super helpful to kind of say, no, people who go on there do enjoy it. And oftentimes truly can't afford the Medicare supplement.
Absolutely.
But to answer your question, William, yes, you are going to see, again, like the products that we're seeing lately. What was the rate increase differentiation between the G and the N? It was like a 20% on F, 30% on G. What was N after that? I don't even remember.
I mean, N is...
It wasn't even like...
Yeah, no, N is still... Everything I have seen so far this spring, N has been like 8 to 15%.
Left alone in comparison, right?
Like pretty low.
So, yeah, those who are struggling to come up with a plan G, oftentimes if they like the risk aversion, if they like the worst thing that's going to happen to me is my premium goes up. If they are more so going to focus on... I want my plan there, regardless if I use it or not. I want to have that security net of a Medicare supplement. Then 100% plan in. I'm seeing, we talked about this a lot, high deductible plan Gs paired with a hospital indemnity plan, really, really popular lately and growing in popularity. I think the big thing is if you're going to write a Medicare supplement, cross-selling is so important to you specifically, not just because of the lack of product, but you're 100% right. A lot of these organizations are going to areas with these massive rate increases. Illinois right now is getting hit huge by call centers and agents who are trying to take advantage of the rate
Absolutely.
increases there, just to pick on them. So your clients are more susceptible. And I think
Of
that's
course they
fair.
are.
They're going to be targeted. So it's so important to you to have more stickiness with that client. So if your client has a hospital indemnity, a cancer plan, a dental vision hearing with you, someone calls them about their Medicare supplement, they are much more likely to hang up the phone and call you because all of their other products are with you. So yes, cross-selling is going to be important for all the obvious reasons, but for the stickiness of that client, very, very, very important.